Between 48 and 67, there were no settlements, but there was still a conflict. So if we leave the West Bank and the Gaza, why do we think that the conflict's going to go away? David?
I'm going to just address that last point. Okay, occupation. The treatment of the Palestinians by Israel has been astonishing. Their economic development, their health, the statistics on the improvement in their longevity, their education, every other statistic of life since 1967 has gone way off the charts better than their treatment by every Arab country, including the ones which have been earning, including the Arab countries who have the greatest unearned wealth in history, which is the transfer of oil money to them. And so our treatment, under their belligerence, while they've been killing us on a daily basis, they have never once had one day where they didn't try and kill us. I'll stop.
Okay.
I could go.
Just want to move things along fast. Just on the question about...
I'm not speaking for my phone. I mean, there's been some really interesting points today, and thank you for hosting the debate, but how can there ever be a peace, and how can this ever be a discussion when there's no Palestinian representative here?
Doris, Palestinian.
But you're not representing what a lot of the ordinary Palestinians want, which is still peace. It's the arguments have been very reductionist in saying that Palestinians don't want Israel to exist. We've just come back from Palestine. They've been friends with Jewish people for years. Yeah. They want peace, but they want to have the same rights. They want to get their dead bodies back in a timely fashion. They want their children to not be tear-gassed.
Yeah. Okay, so
you can't have peace without a recognition that there's been wrong on both sides.
Yeah. Okay.
Masculus.
Now, I'm from the Transvaal #Gauteng, and we're very simple there. You alluded to the thousands of dollars that Israel is spending on the Palestinians. I grew up in a society where I was told every single day how well off the indigenous population of South Africa was. They were better than any Africans in the rest of Africa. They were better than any blacks in Pakistan, than in India, all over the world. They had a wonderful life. But all they wanted was dignity, identity, and the franchise. How would you give that to the Palestinians?
Okay, I don't know how to give them an identity because they stole ours. Okay, so they have to find one. No, they have to. You want the answer? I'll tell it to you. I was born in South Africa. So I'm not unfamiliar with the apartheid, and I'm not saying that Palestinians have a lovely life in the West Bank, though I drive through it and I see some pretty nice houses. It's not that whether they have a lovely life or a better life or a worse life. The issue is identity. Okay, we have an identity. Boy, do we have an identity. We have an amazing identity. We have the strongest, deepest, most firmly rooted identity in the entire world today. Perhaps Zoroastrians have something a little bit further back than us, maybe. And they've almost been eradicated by Islam. But we were not eradicated. We're back. We're on our land. Now, what about the Palestinian identity? Well, first of all, they came up with it in the early 60s. There is no record of a Palestinian Arab identity prior to the early 60s. They plucked it out of thin air. And the reason they did it, I know. But the reason they did it, just let me finish.
I'm sorry, Brian, was there ever a Kuwait? Was there ever a Qatar? Was there ever a Saudi Arabia? Was there ever a Belgium?
Correct.
It's about human rights. People should have their own country. People should have a country, an embassy, a passport. It's not going to happen in the West Bank.
Okay.
We already have a country called Jordan. Unless you point to that, unless that happens, the entire discussion is an absolute waste of energy, and I'm sorry for spoiling your speech, Brian.
Okay. Let me just say, I actually don't like the idea of rights. Judaism does not teach us about rights. It teaches us about responsibilities, and rights flow from responsibilities. I actually think Israel made a mistake, if I'm big enough to say this, to say that we have a right of return. I think Israel should have a responsibility to Jews to home them. And I don't think they have the right to a state when they are blowing us up. When they stop doing that and they start behaving like civilized people, then they can have rights. Rights flow from their actions. They do not have an identity because they made one up to steal ours.
So they don't have an identity. Palestinians don't exist, tell me. Is that what you're trying to say?
No. You exist.
Yes. Do you think that... Sorry, can I speak? Can I speak? I just want to ask you a question to clarify. Do you think that it solves the conflict or it prolongs the conflict? Sorry, let me finish. To turn round to a group and say your identity isn't real. I just want to ask you, what do you think about that?
Listen, whether it solves or it doesn't solve is immaterial.
No, but I'm asking you the question. Do you think it's helpful or not?
I think, yes. It's an unanswerable question.
No, I'm asking you. Do you think it helps it or doesn't help it?
I don't care because I'm more interested in truth.
I just check what you said.
Okay, but what about solutions? Please, people waste a lot.
Thank you. Firstly, I came here to hear a fair debate, and I'm disappointed that the adults around me can't conduct that without interrupting in an uncivilized way. Secondly, Brian, it sounded to me that you just said that certain groups must earn their human rights. But Melanie...
So I didn't get time to answer that question at the end, and I want to answer it. Am I saying that certain groups have to earn their human rights? Well, it's not a matter of earning your human rights. Human rights are inalienable, except if you don't follow certain responsibilities, you lose your human rights. Let's take, for example, the human right to life, a fairly basic right. If you run screaming Allahu Akbar and carrying a knife towards a soldier with a gun, you may well lose your right to life. The soldier's right to defend himself will take precedence over your right to life. You have abjugated your right. So yes, certain people, when they don't behave properly, lose certain rights. And some of those are human rights. There's no magic to it. If one wants to take this a little further, one can look at something called the Cairo Declaration of Human Rights in Islam. I will put links below. The Cairo Declaration, accepted in 1990, is actually the standard of human rights that 56 member states of the United Nations choose to use instead of the wonderful, and I suggest you read it, the wonderful Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And the reason why 56 member states choose to use the Cairo Declaration, it's because the Cairo Declaration is entirely and utterly subservient to Sharia. In fact, if you read it carefully, or not even all that carefully, within the Cairo Declaration of Human Rights, the right to life is specifically and completely limited by Sharia, in that you may not take any life except if that taking of life is prescribed by the Sharia. So that's a bit of a problem for those of us who don't want to live by the laws of Islam. I enjoyed the debate very much. I think the way that the question and answer session was moderated was not done well. A lot of people got a lot of time to say a lot of rubbish, but that's how it is. Anyway, it's my video. I get to choose how to end it. And today I shall end my video by opening up a bottle of indigenous Israeli beer and saying have a good weekend, because it's Thursday here. Bye.